Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for watching us again, like in this special noodle class we're doing from our HQ in Kagawa, Japan. And today's class is going to be like something really exciting and very seasonal. That's yakisoba, like that's stir-fried noodles. This is like a kind of special Japanese sort of like stir-fried noodle that's called yakisoba, and it's been gaining popularity like in different parts of the world. So and then it's something seasonal. It's something like like more and more people like start eating in the summer. So we thought like it's about time for us to do it like in this class. So let's start talking about yakisoba in a minute. But like before we do that, let me introduce Megumi. She's basically like in charge of like North America market, and of course like she covers also like the South American market too. And she's been working with us like for the past like several years. So she's been traveling around different parts of the world, like especially North America, but like because of this COVID-19, she hasn't been able to do it like for the past like few months. But looking forward to meeting with you guys like in person. For those who like, for joining us from North America. And my name is Akira. I'm going to be your host for the next maybe like 90 minutes. And let's and for those of you like who don't know much about us, like let me introduce ourselves a little bit. So we're a 45-year-old manufacturer of noodle making machines. We like manufacturing and designing noodle making machines that are basically for noodle restaurants and designed to do like such noodles as like ramen, udon, soba, and other types of noodles. And so we've been not only like manufacturing noodle making machines, but also we've been running noodle schools, training courses, and training courses on basically Japanese noodle cuisines, ramen, udon, and soba. And this is actually our headquarter in Kagawa, Japan. And this is like one of the places where we do conduct this school. And later we're gonna show you like our kitchen. And we have like school in Tokyo as well. And then we have a school in Singapore too. And like hopefully like this is going to be over like in a couple of months, and then like you guys going to be able to like join us for our school pretty soon. But before that happens, like we're hoping to be able to share with you guys like some of like what we teach at our school. And so we also have so like we've been like exporting our noodle making machines. And so now our machines are used in 61 countries and counting. And then we have 8 locations in Japan. And we have outside Japan, we have like South Korea office. And we have an office in Netherlands, Singapore, and New York as well. So for those of you like who like to like one thing that's bad about like this kind of online class is that like we can't let you guys try noodles that we make in our class. And when we do like real classes, we could do it, like we could like let the participants try our noodles, and but like we can't do it like on this online class. But like for those of you who are interested in trying them out, please contact us, and then like we should be able to like arrange some of the like sample noodles out of US location or like Netherlands or like Singapore locations, or even like in South Korea. So and then so we are basically a group of noodle making experts, who help our customers develop their own unique noodles. And because we've been running like noodle schools where we teach everything basically, helping those who want to start up their own noodle business like noodle shops, to develop their own recipes and from scratch. So yeah, we can basically help you guys with like pretty much anything that's related to like noodle business, noodle restaurant business, ramen, udon, soba, and so on. So yes, so like for those of you who are interested in this kind of like business, just feel free to like contact us through emails, like website, YouTube channel, the Instagram, other media. Okay, so we're talking about yakisoba today. So yakisoba, like yaki means like kind of, well, fry or like, grill in Japanese, and like soba means like, it could be tricky, but like basically it means like noodles. So like that's fried noodles, like, grilled noodles. That's what it means in Japanese. So we're gonna talk about like what's the yakisoba, like what's good about it, and again, like we're gonna talk about like noodles that are suitable for yakisoba noodles, and we're gonna actually make yakisoba noodles on our ramen machine later, and we're gonna show you guys how we do that like from scratch, and we are having our school instructor like standing by in our kitchen, where he's gonna show you guys just a few examples like yakisoba dishes, and we're gonna follow that with a FAQ session. And for those of you who have like any questions, please send us through the comments. Okay. All right, so let's get started. And then, so what's yakisoba, right? And then what's good about it? Like yakisoba is it's like stir-fried noodles that are either like pre-boiled or pre-steamed. So usually, like they are stir-fried in sauce with like vegetables and meat. And it's like why it's good, right? Like it's great for takeout and deliveries, because the quality, right? Quality of the yakisoba, right? After they're prepared, like after they're made, lasts for a little, like for a while. When they're cold, they're pretty good as well. So and it's easy, like casual to eat, like for consumers. So it's a great item, great product for takeout and deliveries. Okay, so the noodles that are suitable for yakisoba, and again, like for those of you who are joining us again, like for this kind of class, I'm using this chart again. So like this chart kind of describes different types of noodles in terms of softness, like hardness of the noodle texture, and the size of the noodles. For the sort of like ideal texture for the customers. And horizontal axis, the horizontal line, like this represents the hydration ratio of noodles, like so how much water is contained in the noodles. So the less water, harder the noodle texture, the more water, softer. And then the vertical line represents the protein content of the noodle, of flour that's used to make these noodles. So the higher the protein content, the harder the noodle texture, the lower, the softer. And right-hand axis, like right-hand side, like we have the noodle size, which starts from which range from like 1.0 millimeter, like which is like really thin for noodles, down to like 5.0 millimeter, like it's very pretty thick noodle size. And if you notice, there's a like small green circle on the top left corner that where it says like Hakata ramen, and then that's green circle, and then that's like low in hydration ratio and high in protein content. So that's hard noodle, and then for the size, 1.1 millimeter, 1.3 millimeter, it's thin noodle, like thin and hard noodle, right? But like on the opposite corner, on the right bottom, you have like udon noodles. That's like high in water content, like hydration ratio, but low in protein content of flour. So that's soft noodle. But for the size, that's like pretty thick, right? That's thick and soft noodle. So like it's, and then you see the pattern in this chart. It's either thin and hard or thick and soft. If you have like thick and hard noodle, like that's not really good combination for like noodle texture. So you see the pattern. That's why you see the pattern. Like it's either thin and hard or like thick and soft, like or somewhere in between. And then we think like it's kind of like large circle that has like where it says like yakisoba, but like so we think that most type of like yakisoba like should fall within this brown circle, and so that determines the noodle texture. So like the bigger the size, you know, the softer it should be, because like if it's big and hard, then you know it's like just really hard to eat. Okay, and so noodle size matters. Noodle size is determined by thickness and width. And you see this image like of the cut surface of noodle. It's basically a square, right? But like you could have like different shapes. Like different shapes mean like different cut surface. You could have like rectangular shape, like flat noodle, or you could have a square, like maybe like round shape, and then either like straight or curly. You could have, and it's like noodle size. The bigger the noodle size, the heavier the taste of sauce that it should be coupled with. And then thinner the size, the lighter sauce that it typically is coupled with. And the curly noodle, right? Curly noodle, like because it's curly, like randomly curly, random shape, right? Randomly curly. It's better better capable like holding sauce. And so like, and if you have like flat noodle, because it has like a larger surface to hold more sauce, it tends to be used with like in a lighter sauce. Okay. So how you can make like different like shapes, like cut surface noodle is that like, so we use this like set of roller to like kind of sheet the dough, and then we adjust the like roller gap between like these two rollers to just like thickness of the dough. So this determines the thickness of the noodle. But like we use this kind of what we call like a sliter cutter, which kind of like slits out the like dough sheet of dough into the like strands of noodles, and this each group of like in this sliter cutter, like a sliter cutter works as like kind of like paper shredder. It's like has like grooves, right? Grooves. So each group determines the width of the noodle, right? So the width of noodle is like basically fixed depending on the cutter that you use, but like thickness you can adjust like by the roller gap. And so if you're making like flat noodles, you basically just have to thin it to the point where like thickness is smaller than the width. Okay. Okay, so let's start talking about ingredients. And the ingredients that are used to make like yakisoba noodles are very similar to what we use for ramen noodles, what we use to make ramen noodles. And of course, like wheat flour is the most important like factor to determine the noodle texture. Then there are three points when we are talking about, when we are like choosing which flour we should use for yakisoba noodles. One of them is like protein content. So protein, you know, we talked about like in the previous chart, if you remember. The protein, the higher the protein content, like the harder the noodle texture, right? So if you want to make your noodle size like bigger, then you should go for flour that has like lower protein content, maybe like 8% or something like that. But if you're making like thinner noodles, then you should go for like hard noodles. I mean hard noodle, like so higher protein. And then this is another value that you should consider is like that's ash content. So ash basically like measured like how much minerals is contained in the flour. Basically, the higher the ash, the darker the color, and the stronger the flavor of wheat. But if you're making ramen noodles, and then like Japanese are very concerned about the color of the noodles. And then if you come to Japan, like go to like different like restaurants. If you try to buy bread from supermarket or like noodles, like maybe like udon noodles or something like, they're all white because all these like flours that are available in Japan have like very low ash content. But like in case of like maybe like yakisoba noodles, like where that are like covered in like black sauce, right? Then you might not, care so much about like how much ash is contained in the flour you use. So the viscosity value, right? Another value that's called like viscosity value. That's how like measures like how elastic the noodle is, how elastic the flour is. So basically, the higher, the more elastic, more chewy, like more flexible the noodle texture will be. So you want to have the higher the better, basically. But like this value is not shown on the product label, so you have to test it to see like how much viscosity is contained in the flour, particular flour you are considering to use. And if you guys can like send us some sample flour that you thinking of using, we can test it for you because we have a machine device to measure it here. Okay, so flour, right? And then water. Water is very important too. And then the kind of water we use is soft water. Soft water is very important, like when it comes to, like, especially when it comes to cooking with the noodles. Cooking noodles, like it may be like hard to see for you guys, but like we did this test, right? So we cooked the noodle like in hot water and soft water, and then for the noodle to be cooked, some of the ingredients that are contained in noodles, for example, like kansui, like salt and other things, have to be released to. Most of them will have to be released to the cooking water, and in exchange, noodle gets water, right, from cooking water, and then the noodle is cooked, right. And then, but like when we cook the noodles like on hot water, because the hot water like contains like a lot of it's like minerals, calcium, magnesium. So there's less room for these ingredients to be released to, right? So it takes time if you cook the noodles like hot water. So you need to, so that like if you cook the noodles like for a long time, then the noodle surface melts, and then like, so texture wise, it's not good. And then some of the noodles like is dissolved in the cooking water, right? So the yield of the cooked noodles is not good, like when you are using like hot water. So there's nothing good about like using hot water. And then we can say the same thing about like cooking up a broth too. So yeah, you should use soft water. Like if you want, we have to like work with the local water that's hard, then you might want to consider like installing softener. Okay. Okay, so kansui is something you have to have like in ramen noodles, but like for yakisoba, like we typically use some type of kansui too. And what it does, so like, but there are many types of like kansui that are out there, but like like basically like this type that we use, and which is like a combination of potassium carbonate and sodium carbonate. So potassium carbonate, what it does is that like it makes like noodle texture harder, and it changes the color to like yellowy color, and it has like stronger kansui smell to it. And we mix it with like sodium carbonate. And sodium carbonate, that is the exact opposite of like potassium carbonate. So basically, like we blend them at different ratios depending on like what size of noodles like we are making. So basically, like smaller the size of the noodle, the more potassium carbonate we add to make it harder. Remember the chart? So like the smaller the size, the harder we should make for the like better texture, better noodle texture. So yeah, so like you just have to remember this. And the type of kansui we use in Japan, especially, is that like it's in powder form, and but like we because we dissolve in the water, so we treat it as like liquid ingredients. So we need to treat it as liquid ingredients. More about that later. Um, let's talk about like production process of like it's called ramen, but like let's say like yakisoba noodles. Um, then so this slide explains like how we make dough, how we make dough of yakisoba noodles. So this slide it starts with like weighing of the ingredients, right? So you need to weigh ingredients, flour, water, constantly, the right ratio. Then if you make mistakes in this process, then the rest of the process wouldn't matter because the quality is not consistent. So we measure everything by weight, grams, pound, because we want to be precise for the consistency of quality. So weighing the ingredients like this is actually the most important process when making dough that's consistent in quality. And mixing is another process that's very important too. So in mixing process, like what we are trying to achieve is like good hydration of the flour. Then this image shows on the right top corner is that like it's a development of like gluten inside dough. So that's what we're trying to make happen inside dough. For that to happen, like we need to have like a right mixing speed. That's through series of research and development, like we have found that it to be 60 rotations per minute. And so mixing, right? So we need to have like good hydration there. And then after that, like we just do like resting process. The resting process, like so, because after mixing, the hydration may not be like perfect. So we want to like let the dough sit in a plastic bag at room temperature to be sort of like to have like kind of good permission of water distribution of water throughout the flour particles to have like perfect hydration. And then after that, like we're gonna process it through a machine and to have like a rough sheet of dough. And then after that, for the rest of the process, like I think it's better for me to like kind of explain like when we actually make noodles later in the machine. But after we make dough, right? So we thin it to the final thickness, right? Then we cut it and portion it, and then we may rest it again, like in a refrigerator, for the noodles to like lose a bit of like moisture and then like dry a little bit to have a better texture, basically. So we consider the third resting process. What's different about like cooking of the yakisoba, like making process like soba from like other ramen and other things is that like from here it's so it's either boiled right first and then stir fried or steamed and stir fried. It's like there are two ways, so there are like two methods that they cook the yakisoba and so basically like if you boil them and stir fry them, then this noodle texture, right, would be different, like kind of softer, like more on the chewier side. But like if you steam them first, then the texture would be like kind of stiff and like coarse, kind of. It's kind of like gummy, kind of like texture in a good way, good sense. But so like if you buy like some yakisoba noodle, like with that noodles like with that label that says like yakisoba from supermarket or something, and then typically that's steamed noodles. But when they has like sort of this kind of texture, like kind of stiff, kind of gummy kind of texture. But like that's how many people actually identify it as the yakisoba noodles. But many like restaurants, like that serve yakisoba here, they cook noodles and like kind of stir fry on the grill, and then that's how we do it actually too. So just for you guys to know that like there are two ways to cook yakisoba. And so, yeah, so we should like think about like the final texture of the noodles, like, you know, when customers actually like bite into the noodles. So a sort of like flat noodles, like kind of this kind of image is like it's not really good, but like so like flat noodles, like, you know, orange part is like what, you know, they're grilled, right? They're like stir fried, they're fried, right? So they're basically burnt, right? The surface is basically burnt, so like which kind of brings out like kind of crispy texture to it. But like yellow part area, like it's not, it's just cooked or like steamed, right? So like it has like kind of chewy sort of like texture remaining, right? So you know, like either you have like a flat noodle, like square noodle, like a bigger size noodle. Just think about like, you know, what kind of final texture you're looking for, like when, you know, customers bite into them, right? So yeah, that's what like something you should think about. Right, and then again, like, so, you know, sample noodles in a machine. Like, if you guys like to have like some kind of private demos, like machines are available at the following locations: Singapore, New York, Amsterdam, Holland, and then we also have like, you know, Seoul, Korea. But these are outside Japan, and like we have like 8 locations in Japan. So for those people like who are interested in like sample noodles, you know, want to try them, or like maybe like have like some private demos, just feel free to contact us. All right. All right. So that's it about what I had like for the lecture part. And so let's start making some noodles, some yakisoba. All right. So let's see like what we have here. Like that's the flour, and then we have this yellow thing is that like this like whole egg powder, whole egg powder. So like in Japan, like we use like eggs in powder form, like when we make noodles. Whole egg powder, like that's just 1%, and then this flour is actually flour that's used for udon noodles, so it has like less protein content, like around 8%. Okay, so for putting in to the mixer. So this machine is called Richmond One machine, and it has the mixer that can take up to 10 kilograms of solid ingredients. Then on top of that, it can take between in the range of like maybe like 25% to like 40% liquid ingredients. So 25% like to 10 kilograms, 2.5 kilograms of liquid, and then 4 kilograms. So from one batch, a maximum, you can make around 12.5 to like 14 kilograms equivalent of noodles for one batch. And then this is a liquid ingredient. So like, so salt and the kansi are added. And salt and kansi is 1% each to the weight of the flour. And so, but this, the water is just 31%, but like we have salt and kansi like 1% each. So this is like, this liquid, like total liquid is like 33% to the weight of the flour. So we consider this as like a medium hydration ratio noodle. Okay, and so we're adding it to the lid of the mixer, which has these small holes, right? Through these small holes, the liquid is dripped through to the flour, so that the liquid is added, you know, little by little to the flour, the mixing. to sort of like facilitate like kind of good hydration of the dough. And yeah, and then the total mixing time is like 10 minutes, and but like we can't wait that long to bore you guys. So let's start the next process. The next process is so this is the dough that like she prepared like before, right? So this is how we rest dough. So put it in a plastic bag and seal it and let it sit at room temperature. And so this is exact like same like recipe. And then so can you guys see like how like wet or dry the dough is? So this is like 33% hydration ratio dough, and of course, like the more higher the hydration, like more water, more liquid you add to it, the bigger the chunks of the dough. And then of course, like opposite, the lower, drier, the smaller the size of dough. And for the first round of like sheeting, we set the roller gap to 1.5 millimeter, and then just feed the dough to the set of the rollers, right? 1.5. Then let's start rolling, right? So the sheet of dough comes out, right? Well, like as you may be able to see, the dough is like still fragile, like weak. So it's we call it like rough forming this process. So by adding, so we had like, remember we had like 1% the whole egg powder, 1% of the white of flour. Just like in this case, like just 40 grams. By adding like whole eggs, you could have like a kind of like eggy flavor, eggy taste to it, like when you like to the noodles, and then a bit of a yellow color, just a little bit. And of course, you could use, of course, like I mean, I think like most of you guys like who are watching now, like you guys don't have like maybe eggs in powder form in your countries, so you can definitely use fresh eggs too. And in case of like using fresh eggs, because like most of them are liquid. Was it like approximately like 70% of it is liquid. Yeah, you need to add eggs in the water, and then make it like sort of like eggy liquid, and then you add it to the flour in the mixing process. Okay, after like 4 minutes, and then add the rest of the water, and then mix it for like another 6 minutes. And so total mixing time is like 10 minutes. And the rule is that like, so the less water, the longer you have to mix. More water, the shorter the mixing time. Then this is like considered a medium hydration ratio. It's like 33%, so it's kind of middle. So the mixing time is like 10 minutes. But like for low hydration ratio, which is like, it's like 25% to like 30%, the mixing time is like 15 minutes. Then if you're making like high hydration ratio noodles, like like a tsukemen or like udon noodles, the mixing time is like only 5 minutes. So the longer the mixing time, I mean, the drier the noodle, the longer the mixing time, wetter, the shorter. So after the first forming, rough forming, so we're gonna combine it. So like we separate the dough to two separate sheets, and then combine them through the rollers. Then yes, to make it firm, like through the rollers, right? Through the rollers, like we combine them, and to make it firm. And then so that was like 1.5 millimeter like roller gap, like this gone through, right? So, but we separate it, right? We separate it into like two sheets, and then we are combine them through the roller, right? So two separate sheets will like go into the roller like at the same time, compound it through the roller at the same time. So one sheet, each sheet is like 1.5 millimeter in thickness. So but there are two sheets, right? So like 1.5 plus 1.5, so it's a 3 millimeter equivalent of dough is like going through the roller right now. And but we don't want to like thin it like drastically, because that would damage the gluten structure that's been developed inside dough, right? So we want like apply this rule of like 70% rule. So we want to reduce the thickness to like by 70%. So like 3 millimeter, that was, so reduced by 70%. That's 3 times like 0.7, so 2.1, or like round it down to like 2.0. So now this dough is like going through 2.0 millimeter roller gap. Okay, and that was like first combining process. And then as some of you like maybe like see the dough is like a lot smoother than before. And then now we want to actually do this combining process like one more time, because like you just want to make sure that like the final dough is going to be like firm. So usually do this process like the combining process like 1 to 2 times, and then remember like it's going through like 2.0 millimeter. Then so I separate it and then two sheets, and then 2 plus 2, 4 times 70%, 0.7. That's 2.8. But like for the sake of simplicity, like we multiply and round it up to 3.0 millimeter. So now it's going through the roller gap like 3.0 millimeter. And from this point on, we can start dusting, because we don't want the dough sheet to stick together. So we start dusting like it's automatic. And this is like 33% hydration ratio, so it's not that wet, but we want to dust it like to make sure that it's not going to stick together. But like the amount of dusting is not that much. But like if you're making such noodles as the udon, which are high hydration ratio noodles, you want to dust more to make sure that it's not going to stick. Okay, so second combining process is done, and well, all you have to do is just thin it, right? So after second combining process, like we know that like gluten structure inside dough is like complete and developed, right? And it's very firm. So all you have to do is just thin it into the final thickness. All right, so it's going to like 2.0 millimeter roller gap, and well, the next round we may want to cut. Like before we cut it, you want to measure the actual thickness, and which is 2.5, right? After it's going to like 2.0 millimeter roller gap, the actual thickness is actually 2.5 millimeter. So there's like a difference of about 0.5 millimeter. Then so the actual thickness is actually always bigger because after it's gone through the roller gap, it bounces back. Those like bounces back, right? So it's always bigger. And so you have to measure it before you cut it to get the final thickness right. And the noodle, the cutter that we are using to cut these noodles is number 16, which is 2.0 millimeter in width. Then the ideal thickness for this cutter is like 1.7 millimeter. So to get 1.7 millimeter, right, we set the roller gap to like 1.2 millimeter because we expect the final thickness to expand back before it's going through the cutter by 0.5. So like we can get the final thickness of 1.7. And then this is the kind of cutter we use. This slither cutter. So each groove is 2.0 millimeter in width. So we set a cutter in there. So set the automatic duster over the conveyor. All right, it's all set, and let's start cutting. And then this volume here is actually like you can adjust like the length of the noodles. The length of the noodle like basically determines the portion size, serving size with noodles. So basically, longer the length, the bigger the serving size. Noodles coming out. Then could you measure the final thickness? See if that's 1.5. Remember we set the roller gap like 1 to 1.2, and then we expect that roller final thickness to bounce back by 0.5. And then to get the final thickness of like 1.7. Okay, so that's 1.7. Yeah, so got it right. And if you didn't get that right, you could just adjust the roller gap to get that final thickness right. Maybe like plus or minus 0.1 in the roller gap. And it's very easy to like make them curly by hand or by machine. So we have like the silicone plates that you can put them back with the cutter to make the noodles stuck for a while, and then to make them curly. Like in the process, like the noodles get stuck in there and it gets squeezed out. Then the noodles are curly. Yeah, so it's very easy to make them curly too. Right, guys. So like that's how we make yakisoba noodles on the ramen machine. That was a very small batch, so we'll have about like 13 portions. I mean, no, that's like 18 portions. But like from one batch, you can make up to like 100 portions in an hour. And so there are some yakisoba noodles that we prepared previously. Just different sizes, like different dough. So this is like, see, like flat noodles. Like these are kind of rare for as a yakisoba noodles, but like, and then it's like kind of square, different size, like slightly different, but like if you try them, the texture will be like drastically different. Because it's a thicker noodles, and then it's kind of a bit interesting. Like it's thin, but like, and then like basically it's like smaller, but like it's flat noodles anyway. And so this one, for those of you like who are kind of like kind of thinking of doing like gluten-free noodles, like so you could have like gluten-free option as well. So this is our school kitchen. So normally, like we teach our classes in this kitchen, like while cooking is happening. So like cooking of a broth, noodles, and so basically, like it's we can have like up to like 8 students at the time, because like we are like concerned about like one-on-one session. Each student has his own like kind of like original ideas, like what kind of ramen they want to make, what kind of udon they want to make. So we want to accommodate that, right, as much as we can. So we believe in like one-on-one session. That's why we take up to like 8 people at a time, and then each student can work, like play around with like different types of like broth, toppings, the soups, right? I mean, tare, flavored oil, everything's like made from scratch. And then noodles, of course. And then like, this is a place where, like we could put together, right? To like make each student's like recipe like complete. So this is like really exciting actually, when you guys are able to like come here and join us in our school. We hope that it's gonna happen and pretty soon, soon enough. And but anyway, so you guys are in school, in the kitchen, and so we have like 3 instructors right now. And let me introduce them to you guys. Okay. So Mr. Ikeda is a chief instructor of school. He has like depth and knowledge and then experiences in like Chinese cuisine background. So Chinese cuisine like being like kind of similar to like ramen, like that's where like ramen is like originated from. So he's the person to like ask questions about like ramen, like maybe like some of the like Chinese noodles as well. So we're happy to have him here. And then Miss Song is a recently joined instructor, like who has literally Chinese background. So like he can speak Chinese, like Japanese, So for those of you like who are comfortable with like speaking Chinese, please feel free to like ask him like questions you may have. You and so here we have Thomas, Mr. Takeuchi. He's originally coming from Vancouver, Canada. So he's basically speaks native English, Japanese, and then like he's been with us like kind of teaching our school for like past few years, and because he naturally speaks like English and he has like really good ideas for like different types like yakisoba dishes. He's gonna be teaching this, showing like a few examples like yakisoba dishes today. So I'll pass it to Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Akira. Once again, this is Thomas. I'll be showing you guys how to make some yakisoba dishes. And the dishes we're going to be making today is one's going to be seafood yakisoba, and the second one's going to be ankake yakisoba. And ankake yakisoba is crispy yakisoba noodles, which is pan fried, and then top it with some gravy sauce on top. So those two yakisoba, popular yakisoba dishes, so I'll be making those two today. So before getting into the cooking part, I want to talk about the difference between the ramen and the yakisoba noodles. Okay. So first of all, noodles itself, ramen noodles and yakisoba noodles, they're exact same or very similar. It's just that it's cooked in a different way. Ramen noodles, it's boiled, and then once it's boiled, it goes into that soup, and that's how to cook the ramen noodles. But for yakisoba noodles, once you boil the noodles, you want to wash the noodles so the starch on the outside of the noodles is removed. It's because later on you're going to pan fry it, and if you have the starch around the noodles are going to be really sticky. So yakisoba noodles, after you boil, you have to wash to remove the starch. Okay. So first, I'm going to make the seafood yakisoba. And for the seafood yakisoba, the ingredients are cabbage, carrots, chives, pork belly, cuttlefish, scallops, and prawns. And some chopped up leeks and some ginger, chopped up ginger. Okay. So for the flavoring, we're going to be using simply salt and pepper, and we're going to be using white pepper. And for soy sauce, I mix soy sauce with sugar to make this simple sweet soy sauce. And we're going to be using these to season the yakisoba. Okay, so first I want to boil the noodles. And when you boil the noodles, make sure to have rapidly boiling water. And because once you put the noodles into the boiling machine, you want that noodles to be moving around freely for a consistent boil. So going to put the noodles into the boiling machine, into the basket, and for the first 5 or 10 seconds, you want to mix it. You want to break up the batch so that the noodles won't be lumped up together. So just for the first 5 or 10 seconds. And this size, yakisoba noodles this size, I'm probably going to cook it for 2 minutes. 2 minutes should be enough. Okay. So while the noodles are boiling, let's start pan frying the ingredients. So first I'm going to heat up the pan. And it's going to heat up to medium heat. And pour some oil. And put some chopped up leek and chopped up ginger. Just a little bit. And what you want to do is you want to cook these two so that it extracts the flavor into the oil. Okay, so we're gonna cook these, cook the ginger and chopped up leek until it's just slightly brown. Try not to overcook it, it's just gonna be too bitter. So just cook until there's some slight brown parts. So just like this. And next I'm going to put in the protein ingredients, prawn, pork belly, cuttlefish, and scallop. So once these are half cooked, I'm going to put in some cabbage, carrots, and some chives. And season ingredients with some salt and some white pepper. Lastly, I'm going to put in half of this sweet soy sauce. Okay. So the ingredients are prepared. So I'm just going to turn off the heat and just move the ingredients to the side. Just leave an opening for the noodles. Okay, let's go back to the boiling machine. So the noodles are done. So what you want to do is now I want to remove the starch from the outside of the noodles, remove the stickiness. What you want to do is you want to actually scrub the noodles to remove the starch. You want to completely remove the starch. Just like this. And just remove the water, change the water, and wash again. Just like this. And now you want to strain out the water completely. This is going to dilute the sauce, and also it's going to make the noodles soggy again. So completely strain out the water completely. Just like this. Okay, so yakisoba noodles are prepared. Back to the stove. And just place the yakisoba noodles in the opening. And you want to season the noodles. Just the noodles. The ingredients are seasoned already, so just the noodles. Salt and pepper, and the remaining of that sweet soy sauce. Once the noodles are completely seasoned, mix it up with the ingredients. So just cook until the moisture is evaporated. Right, so seafood yakisoba. Now the yakisoba is ready. I want to put it into this takeout container. I like to put some baking sheet in the bottom so that it prevents some moisture to penetrate through the container. Okay. So I like to put the noodles first. ingredients in the middle. And lastly, top it with some green seaweed. So this is how to make seafood yakisoba. The noodles are really nice and chewy, and the flavor, the slightly burnt soy sauce gives a nice, amazing taste to the yakisoba. And make sure to don't close the lid right away because it's going to keep the moisture inside and make the new yakisoba soggy again. So keep the lid open and just close it right before serving to the customer. Okay, so next we're going to be making ankake yakisoba, the crispy yakisoba with some gravy sauce on top. So first thing you want to do is boil the noodles. We're going to be using the thinner yakisoba noodles, and we're going to be cooking this for 1 minute. Once again, boiling water, and for the first 5 or 10 seconds, you want to mix the noodles. You never want lumped up noodles. Just like that. And we're just going to be cooking this for 1 minute because after boiling, we're going to pan fry the noodles. So that's going to cook the noodles more. So short boiling time and then pan fry later. Okay, 30 more seconds. And while we're waiting for that boiling time, boiling, let's talk about the ingredients we're going to be using. So we're going to be using suchoi, shimeji mushrooms, carrots, and young corn, and quail eggs, bamboo shoots, and snow peas. And the sauce, we're going to be using chicken broth, and it's seasoned with some oyster sauce, salt, sugar, and sesame oil. Okay. The noodles are boiled, so let's wash the noodles again. Remove the starch completely. Okay. And remove the water and wash again. Just like this. And once again, strain out the water completely. Okay. And let's start pan frying these noodles. And pour some oil into the frying pan. And noodles into the pan. And first thing you want to do is you want to fix the shape so that it's a nice circular shape. And I'm going to cook the noodles at medium heat until the bottom part is nice and golden brown and crispy. And so while the noodles are while we pan fry the noodles, we're gonna start preparing the sauce, the gravy sauce on top. Vegetable oil, some chopped up leeks, and chopped up ginger. And once again, we're going to cook the leek and ginger until it's the flavor is extracted into the oil. And once again, just cook until it's slightly brown. Don't overcook it. Don't cook it until it's like brown or black, it's going to be too bitter. So just like this. And now I'm going to add in the protein ingredients. Once these are half cooked, I'm going to add in the raw vegetables, sui choi, shimeji mushroom, and carrots. Okay, so let's get back to the noodles. I think the bottom part of these pan-fried noodles is nice and golden brown. So let's flip these. Okay? So the bottom part is now cooked. So I flipped it so that we're gonna pan fry the other side as well. Okay. So now I'm going to add in the chicken broth, seasoned with oyster sauce, salt, and sugar. And I'm also going to add in the young corn, quail eggs, bamboo shoots, and some snow peas for the color. Let's check the noodles again. I'm just going to cook it a little bit more. I'm just going to taste check the sauce. Okay. The sauce tastes great. So now I'm going to thicken the sauce with the cornstarch water. So before adding this, I'm going to check up on the noodles again. Okay, it's perfect. So the bottom part is nice and golden brown again. So the noodle's ready. So I'm going to move it to this tray. I want to remove the oil. You want to strain out the oil so it removes that greasiness. Okay. And the sauce is ready to be thickened. And before adding in the cornstarch water, make sure to turn off the heat first. That's going to prevent the cornstarch from lumping up. And when you add in the cornstarch, make sure to mix as you add in the cornstarch water. Try not to lump up the cornstarch. So just like this. And once the cornstarch is mixed in, now you want to reheat to completely, you want to cook the starch completely. So just like this. Okay. The sauce is ready. The gravy sauce is ready. So now for the plating, I want to cut this into 4. So cut it in half first, and once again into half. So you get these quarters. And what I want to do is I'm going to plate it, stack it up a little. And use a ladle to pour this gravy sauce on top. So this is how to make the crispy ankake yakisoba. So obviously the texture is great. The outside of the yakisoba, the noodles, is very crispy, but the inside is still chewy. And the gravy sauce, it coats every part of this dish, so it's nice and savory. It's a perfect dish for takeout as well. And if you're preparing this ankake yakisoba for takeout, make sure to separate the sauce and noodles. So what I would do is I'll place the noodles in the container and have the sauce in another different separate bowl. So the customer will pour the sauce when they're about to eat so that the noodles will remain crispy and chewy. So yeah, it's a perfect dish for takeout as well. So today we made a simple seafood yakisoba and crispy ankake yakisoba, crispy noodles with some gravy sauce on top. Okay.
Hey Thomas, that was very good. For those of you like who are interested in like some other subjects for us to cover, please feel free to like send us some comments, like and send us an email, and then like let us know, and then we'll be more than happy to do it. And we read all your comments, so please make sure you guys send us comments, leave some comments, anything you want to know. Anything. Yeah. So, and then for those of you like who are watching, who haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. And then if you enjoy the class, please hit the like button, please. And yeah, so thank you so much for you guys watching, and then like we'll definitely look forward to you guys to seeing you guys in the next class. So thank you so much for you guys watching. Bye.